What if I told you your brain is glitching all the time and you don't even notice? You forget why you walked into a room. You call someone by the wrong name. You swear you remember something perfectly, only to find out it never happened. You've felt these moments. So have I. They feel random, confusing, even a little scary. But here's the truth. These aren't signs of weakness. They're signs that your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Because your brain isn't built for perfection. It's built for survival, for speed, for pattern recognition. It takes shortcuts. It makes predictions. It edits your reality to help you navigate a chaotic world. And sometimes those shortcuts backfire. The result? A glitch, a moment of mental static, a bizarre thought, a false memory, a flicker of confusion in an otherwise normal day. But these glitches aren't failures. They're features. They reveal how your brain works under the surface. Fast, messy, and incredibly creative. Today, we're going to explore the most fascinating brain glitches science has discovered. What they are, why they happen, and what they reveal about your deepest wiring. Some will make you laugh, some will make you pause, and some might make you question what's real, because the mind isn't a perfect machine. It's a living, adapting, storytelling engine, and every glitch is a crack in the surface, a glimpse into the strange magic happening behind your thoughts. Let's begin. Glitch 1. The doorway effect. You walk into a room with a purpose. You know exactly what you came for. Then, nothing. Your mind blanks. You stand still, suddenly confused. What was I doing again? This is called the doorway effect, and it's a scientifically documented brain glitch. Researchers at the University of Notre Dame ran a study where participants walked through doorways while completing memory tasks. Each time they passed into a new room, their memory performance dropped, even if the task hadn't changed. Why? Because the brain segments events based on location. Think of your mind like a TV show. Each space, your bedroom, the kitchen, your office, is a new scene. When you walk through a doorway, your brain instinctively wraps up the last scene and prepares for a new one. So when you forget why you walked into the room, it's not that you're broken. Your brain just closed the file too soon. It's trying to be efficient, cleaning the slate, making space for new information, but sometimes it scrubs too hard. This glitch reminds us that memory isn't continuous, it's episodic, context-bound. And sometimes the act of moving between spaces causes your brain to move on, even if you haven't. Tip of the tongue phenomenon. You're in the middle of a sentence when suddenly you stop. You know the word, you've used it 100 times. You can feel the first letter. You even know how many syllables it has, but it won't come out. You're stuck in the frustrating grip of the tip of the tongue phenomenon. It's not just annoying, it's one of the most fascinating examples of how memory works in fragments. You see, words aren't stored in one neat file. They're scattered across your brain. The sound of the word is in one area, its meaning in another, the spelling yet another, and the emotional weight of the word somewhere else entirely. When you want to say something, your brain quickly reassembles those pieces, like snapping together a puzzle. But if one piece is missing, or if the connection is just a little off, the whole thing stalls. What's even stranger, stress makes it worse. The more anxious you get about remembering, the tighter the mental lock becomes. This is why the best strategy is often to walk away, distract yourself, and let your brain relax. Because the word isn't gone. It's just stuck behind a mental bottleneck. And often, it comes back when you least expect it. In the shower, while brushing your teeth, 10 minutes after the conversation ends. It's like your brain says, oh, here it is. Sorry, I was looking in the wrong drawer. This glitch reveals the non-linear, networked nature of memory. It's not a straight line, it's a web. And sometimes, one thread slips, just enough to leave you speechless. Glitch 3. Déjà vu. You enter a new place, a city you've never visited, a room you've never seen, and suddenly, a strange feeling washes over you. I've been here before. Your heart stutters. Your skin tingles. Your brain insists, this is familiar. But you know, logically, it isn't. That eerie feeling is déjà vu, a French term meaning already seen. And for years, scientists were baffled by it. How could we feel such deep familiarity in unfamiliar places? The current theory? It's a timing error in your brain's recognition system. Normally, when your brain processes a new experience, two systems kick in. One checks if it feels familiar. The other checks your actual memory archives. In Déjà Vu, the familiarity system fires before the memory system can say, nope, this is new. The result? A mismatch. You feel like you've lived this before, but there's no memory to back it up. Your brain registers the feeling first and tries to fill in the blanks later. Even more interesting, Déjà Vu tends to happen more in young people, creative thinkers, those under stress, or when sleep deprived. Some researchers believe it's a kind of brain hiccup, a harmless side effect of a highly tuned, predictive brain trying to match new input with stored experience. Others think it's the brain testing its reality check systems, like a glitch test. Can I trust this memory? Either way, déjà vu reminds us how much of perception is built on guesswork. Your brain isn't just observing the world, it's constantly predicting it, and sometimes it gets ahead of itself. It's not magic, not reincarnation, not time travel, just your neurons playing déjà vu and showing you how beautifully weird your memory really is. Glitch 4. Jamais Vu. Now, let's flip the coin. What if something you know too well suddenly feels alien? You stare at a common word, like apple. You write it 10 times, and suddenly, it looks wrong. You say your name out loud, and it sounds like gibberish. This is the opposite of déjà vu. It's called Jamais Vu, never seen, and it's one of the brain's strangest ways of saying, I've had enough. Jamais vu occurs when repetition breaks the mental link between a concept and its meaning. Your brain essentially goes, I've processed this too many times. I'm turning off the autopilot. It's like word burnout. Overexposure causes the neural connections to temporarily glitch. This is especially common in writers and editors, students repeating phrases while studying, people under intense focus or fatigue. What's happening here is that the semantic network, the part of the brain that connects meaning to symbols, becomes overstimulated. When that happens, your brain disconnects the symbol from its meaning, creating a feeling of detachment or strangeness. This isn't memory loss. You know what the word is. You just can't feel its meaning anymore. It's a fascinating reminder that meaning isn't fixed. It's constructed. And when your brain takes a break from constructing it, everything starts to look off. Jamais vu shows us how much of reality is held together not by logic, but by repeated mental agreement. When that agreement slips, even for a moment, the world becomes unfamiliar. Glitch 5. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. You stumble across a strange word. Let's say syzygy. Weird, unfamiliar. You pause. Maybe even Google it. Then, 2 days later, you hear it in a podcast, then in a YouTube comment, then in a book title. And suddenly it feels like this obscure word is everywhere. That creeping sense of coincidence? That's not fate. It's a glitch. And it has a name. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon, also called frequency illusion. It works like this. The moment your brain labels something as new and noteworthy, it primes your perception to look for it again. And when it finds it, it feels intentional, but it isn't. You're not seeing it more, you're noticing it more. This is called selective attention, and it's your brain's way of managing the overwhelming flood of sensory input you deal with every second. Out of the millions of sounds, colors, ads, and words you encounter daily, your brain filters out 99.9%. But when something becomes relevant to you, suddenly your brain lets it through the gate. You buy a blue car and now everyone drives a blue car. You learn a baby name and suddenly it's in every movie you watch. You hear about a rare condition and then 5 TikToks mention it in the same week. Nope, the world didn't change, your filter did. The Baader-Meinhof glitch is a reminder that reality is curated, not just by the algorithms you scroll, but by the neural algorithms inside your head. You don't just see the world, you see what your brain decides is worth seeing. It's not a conspiracy. It's not the universe sending signs. It's your brain tagging an idea as important and coloring the world accordingly. A reminder that perception isn't passive, it's active. And that synchronicity you feel, it's just the brain spotlighting the patterns it wants you to see. Glitch 6. Scene completion. You're telling a story from childhood. You remember the couch your family had. Green, kind of scratchy. You remember your dog barking. You even remember what your mom said that day. But years later, when you look at old photos, something doesn't match. The couch was blue. The dog hadn't been adopted yet. And your mom wasn't even home that weekend. You're not lying. You're not making it up. You're just experiencing a classic glitch known as scene completion. Our brains don't store every detail of an event. They capture outlines, key impressions, emotional tones, and then fill in the gaps later. It's like your brain sketches the frame, and your imagination paints it in. Why? Because storing every single detail would be overwhelming. So your brain simplifies, but when you retrieve a memory, it reconstructs it, using real fragments and guesses. This is why eyewitness testimony is often unreliable. People don't lie. They remember incorrectly and with full confidence. Even more strange, the more you recall a memory, the more you alter it. Each time you bring it up, you're not just replaying a tape, you're resaving a file. And sometimes, a few pixels change. Scene completion is part of your brain's story-making system. It tries to give you a coherent narrative, even if that means mixing truth with fiction. And the result? A memory that feels completely real, even if it's part fantasy. It's not deception, it's compression, efficiency over accuracy. Because your brain doesn't care if every detail is true. It cares if the story makes sense. Glitch 7. Capgras delusion. Imagine waking up and seeing your partner. They look the same, sound the same, but deep in your gut, something feels off. You stare longer, study their face, and the thought hits you. This isn't them. You don't just feel it, you know it. That terrifying experience is a rare glitch known as Capgras delusion. It occurs when the brain's face recognition system is intact, but the emotional connection that confirms identity is broken. Your eyes see a familiar person, but your brain can't feel that familiarity. So what does it do? It creates a story to explain the mismatch. This must be an imposter pretending to be them. The brain would rather believe in a conspiracy than accept that something in its emotional wiring is misfiring. Capgras is most often seen in people with brain injuries, schizophrenia, dementia, or conditions that disrupt the temporal lobe or amygdala, and it's it's not just limited to people. Some patients believe their house has been replaced, their pet has been swapped, that objects have been subtly changed, and no one else can see it. Why does this happen? Because recognition isn't just visual, it's emotional. And when the feeling doesn't match the face, the brain panics and creates a narrative to resolve the contradiction. This glitch is extreme, but it reveals something we all experience in subtle ways. Ever felt disconnected from your own reflection? Ever stared at someone close to you and thought you feel distant? Ever walked through your house and felt like it didn't belong to you anymore? These are tiny echoes of the Capgras glitch. They remind us that relationships, even with places, aren't just stored in memory. They're felt in the emotional centers of the brain. And when those centers go offline, the world becomes unfamiliar, even when it looks the same. Glitch 8. Misplacing things in plain sight. You're running late, frustrated. You need your wallet. Now, you know you left it on the counter. You check. Nothing. You check again. Still nothing. Then someone else walks in, glances once and says, "It's right here." You freeze. You looked 3 times. Welcome to a glitch known as attentional blindness, or more specifically, inattentional amnesia. Here's what's really happening. When you're under stress, your brain goes into tunnel vision mode. It narrows your focus, locking onto a mental model of where the object should be. If your brain decides it's not on the counter, it may literally filter that location out, even if your eyes are staring right at it. Why? Because perception isn't just visual, it's selective. You don't see with your eyes, you see with your expectation. Inattentional blindness is the same glitch that causes drivers to miss a pedestrian in broad daylight, pilots to overlook an alert light, students to miss a glaring typo in their own paper. Your brain is overwhelmed, so it prunes. It ignores irrelevant input, sometimes too much, and that's when objects go invisible. This glitch reveals the power and limitation of mental focus. It's not just about where you look, it's about where your brain allows you to look. The next time you lose something in plain sight, don't blame your eyes. Blame your brain's assumption engine, and maybe take a breath, because a relaxed mind sees more than a frantic one. Glitch 9. False memories. You remember your 7th birthday, the cake, the balloons, your cousin singing off key. You tell the story every few years, and each time it feels vivid, detailed, true, until one day someone says, "That didn't happen." You laugh, they show you a photo. They say the party was in a different house, there was no cake. Your cousin wasn't there, but your mind rebels. Then how do I remember it so clearly? That's false memory, a glitch where your brain creates a memory that feels just as real as the truth. Here's why it happens. Memory isn't a perfect video recorder. It's a reconstruction system. Each time you recall a memory, your brain rebuilds it using fragments, sensory details, emotions, words from others, and imagination. Then it resaves that memory, but with tiny changes. Over time, those changes add up, especially when you hear someone else's version of the event. You fill in gaps unconsciously. You imagine what probably happened. The new version becomes the dominant memory, even if it's wrong. Psychologist Elizabeth Loftus proved this with experiments. She showed people footage of a car crash, then asked how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other. Those who heard smashed remembered broken glass, but there was none. Just one word changed the memory. This is why 2 people can remember the same moment completely differently and both be 100% sure they're right. Because they are sure, just not accurate. False memories reveal that confidence is not equal to correctness, and that memory is less like a photo album and more like a sketchbook. Glitch 10. Phantom phone vibrations. You're walking, or sitting, or half asleep, and suddenly, buzz. Your hand reaches for your phone, but there's no call, no message, nothing. You didn't imagine it, you felt it. That's a glitch known as phantom phone vibration syndrome, and it's incredibly common. Why does it happen? It starts with expectation. Your brain becomes trained to anticipate messages. Each time your phone buzzes, your brain reinforces that sensation as important. Over time, it becomes hypersensitive, primed to detect anything that feels similar. Muscle twitches, clothing pressure, air movement, the way you're sitting. Your brain picks up the signal and mislabels it. This is called predictive error, when your brain guesses before verifying and feels something that didn't happen. In a world of constant notifications, our nervous systems are overstimulated. Even when the phone is off, your brain is still scanning for interaction. This isn't just about phones. It's how your brain works across all senses. When expectation is high, sensation can become imagination, and you'll feel things that aren't really there. Glitch 11. Freudian slips. You're in a job interview. You mean to say, "I'm confident I can handle pressure," but you blurt out, "I'm confident I can create pressure." Silence. That awkward moment is called a Freudian slip, a verbal mistake that seems to reveal your subconscious thoughts. Freud believed these slips were windows into repressed desires, conflicts, or truths. Today, psychologists offer a more nuanced view. Most slips happen because similar words compete in your mind. You're nervous or distracted, your brain glitches while coordinating language and thought. But the fascinating part, slips often do reflect what's lingering just beneath your conscious control. If you're worried, conflicted, or suppressing emotion, those thoughts can influence your language. Your mouth moves faster than your emotional filter can keep up, and for a split second, the truth leaks out. It might not be deep trauma, but it might be fatigue, frustration, excitement, guilt. Your brain is a layered system. The top layer plans, the middle layer speaks, and the bottom layer feels. When they go out of sync, the wrong word slips through. Freudian slips show us how deeply emotion is wired into language and how sometimes your brain speaks before your mask is on. Glitch 12, the Mandela Effect. You remember the Monopoly man with a monocle. You remember a movie called Shazam with Sinbad. You remember Pikachu's tail having a black tip, but none of that is real. Welcome to the Mandela Effect. When large groups of people share the same false memory, it's named after Nelson Mandela, whom many people wrongly remembered dying in prison during the 1980s. In reality, he lived until 2013. So what's going on? This isn't mass hallucination. It's shared memory error caused by how the brain handles association, pattern recognition, confabulation. The Monopoly man feels like he should have a monocle because he resembles other old-timey characters who do. So your brain fills it in. The Shazam movie never existed, but Sinbad wore genie costumes in ads, and your brain blurred the lines. Pikachu's tail never had a black tip, but the ears do, and your mind extended the pattern. What's important here? Memory isn't built in isolation. We construct meaning together. Through repetition, stories, social media, memes, and conversation, false memories become cultural memories. The more people believe it, the more it gets repeated, and the stronger the illusion becomes. The Mandela Effect reminds us that truth isn't always about fact. It's about consensus, and consensus can be wrong. Reality, it turns out, is fragile. Glitch 13, Pareidolia. You see a face in a cloud, a smile in a light socket, a dog in your toast. You know it's not real, but you see it anyway. That's pareidolia. Your brain's tendency to see meaningful patterns, especially faces, where none exist. Why faces? Because from birth, our brains are wired to prioritize human faces. It's critical for survival, reading emotion, recognizing danger, bonding with parents. So your brain creates a shortcut. If 3 dots vaguely resemble a face, treat it like one. This is deeply rooted in your fusiform face area, the part of the brain that specializes in facial recognition. When it gets overexcited, you see faces everywhere. This isn't a flaw. It's your brain being too good at protecting you. It's better to see a face that isn't there than miss one that is. But pareidolia goes deeper. We don't just see faces. We project emotion onto them. That smiling wall plug, it looks friendly. That angry-looking car grill, it feels aggressive. We assign personality, mood, and even intent to objects because our brain wants to make sense of the world. Pareidolia is the glitch that turns randomness into story. Glitch 14, time dilation. You blink and a day is gone. Or you sit through a 5-minute speech that feels like an hour. That's time dilation. The brain's distortion of time. Why does it happen? Because we don't measure time in minutes. We measure it in memory density. When your brain processes a moment with lots of novelty, it lays down more memory traces. And when you reflect back, it feels longer. This is why childhood summers felt endless. Your brain was processing new everything. New places, new feelings, new experiences. As an adult, routine shrinks time. 1 week blends into the next. Your brain compresses the data, and time feels like it flies. Emotion also stretches time. Fear slows it. Joy shortens it. Boredom expands it. Adrenaline boosts memory encoding, which slows down perception in the moment. That's why car crashes feel like slow motion. Your brain is hyper-recording. Time dilation reminds us, if you want life to feel fuller, don't chase hours. Chase meaning. Novelty, emotion, engagement. Your brain doesn't count minutes. It counts moments. Glitch 15. Hemispatial neglect. Imagine this. You draw a clock, but all the numbers are crammed on one side. You eat only from the right side of your plate. You shave half your face. This isn't laziness or confusion. It's a glitch called hemispatial neglect, usually caused by a stroke or brain damage to the right hemisphere. This condition makes the brain ignore the left side of space, not just visually, but conceptually. Patients don't see the left. They don't feel the left. They don't even know it's missing. To them, the world is complete, just smaller. This shows us that perception isn't just about input. It's about awareness. Even if your eyes work, your brain decides what counts. And sometimes it decides half the world doesn't. Glitch 16. Mirror touch synesthesia. You see someone stub their toe and you flinch, not out of sympathy, but because you feel it in your own foot. This is mirror touch synesthesia, a rare condition where observing touch on others triggers touch sensations in your own body. It's empathy turned physical. Your brain has mirror neurons, special cells that fire both when you do something and when you see someone else do it. These neurons help us learn by watching, Feel what others feel. Connect emotionally. But in mirror-touch synesthesia, those neurons are dialed all the way up. The line between you and other becomes blurred. People with this condition describe feeling, hugs they watch, pain they witness, even texture changes on TV. It can be overwhelming, but it reveals something powerful. Our brains aren't separate from others. They're wired for connection, and sometimes that connection becomes tactile. This glitch reminds us that empathy isn't just emotion, it's embodied. And some people feel the world more deeply than we can imagine. Let's take a step back. You've just explored 16 glitches, some odd, some hilarious, some profound. But here's the truth behind them all. Your brain isn't broken. It's brilliant and beautifully flawed. These glitches happen because your brain is fast, because it's efficient, because it's trying to help you survive in a complex world. It cuts corners, it makes assumptions, it tells stories to connect the dots, and sometimes it gets things wrong. But every glitch reveals something deeper. That memory is creative, that perception is filtered, that meaning is constructed, not discovered. You are not a machine. You are a storyteller, built on guesses, hopes, patterns, and emotion. Your brain isn't perfect, but it is powerful. It makes faces out of clouds. It invents memories to complete the past. It bends time when life gets meaningful. And when things glitch, it's not always a sign of failure. It's a sign that your brain is trying to make sense, to stay safe, to connect. So the next time you forget something simple, or feel something strange, or see something no one else sees, smile. You're not glitching out. You're glitching human. And that's where the magic lives.